this year by more than $40 million. A major component of our corporation tax is the international business sector. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something about the international business sector. The Nation newspaper has engaged in a massive cover-up. They were present when we did the press conference that Clyde talked about a couple of weeks ago. The Advocate newspaper was present. I have seen no commentary. Nothing was said about it on CBC, who were also present. But you must know, as Barbadians, you have a right to know. And your Minister of International Business has said nothing, so he must stand condemned for his silence. And your Minister of Foreign Affairs was taken by surprise when I challenged her in the Senate about it Wednesday. Great Britain, the former mother country, has blacklisted Barbados as a jurisdiction with whom it is likely that it will be very difficult to do transparent international business. You understand where we come to? Great Britain, the mother country, has put her child on a master list. They were told in 2010 April by Great Britain that Great Britain was passing a finance act. And the act said clearly that there was concern about some countries in the world where British citizens were going and doing business and having capital gains and not declaring the income. Having substantial gains in terms of their income, their revenue, and not declaring it back to Her Majesty's authorities. When we talk about capital gains, let's understand that we're talking, for example, about a house on the West Coast, which may cost $7 or $8 million US. A house on the West Coast that is employing 4 or 5 people. One is a butler, one is a gardener, another is doing something else, so on, security guard, etc., etc. And Great Britain, for the first time, this government does not want to tell you. The press do not feel that it is their professional obligation in the defense of the interests of Barbadians, and they are Barbadians themselves. They do not feel it is their professional obligation to question the government about these matters. So a conspiracy to blanket out the issue takes place. But you need to know that Great Britain has placed us on a list of countries against whom, if the British citizen is found to have failed to disclose his income, or under-disclose the level of his income, or under-disclose or not disclose at all the capital gain that he has made, for example, the house there on the West Coast, you're going to pay 200% of the value of the undisclosed gain. You want to say that again? 200% of the value of the undisclosed gain. So if you do the arithmetic, the house value of $5 million US, pay 200% on that. That will send a shockwave through the minds of every British citizen who is in Barbados and who even think about doing a little dipsy-doodling with respect to the revenue. And let me say to you very frankly, that fellas with big money don't choose to rush hot and sweaty to the income tax department to disclose every penny that they make when the year comes. They don't. They pay people like Lynette, who are very creative attorneys, to build tax shelters and so on. And so therefore, but that's true. And it's not an illegal thing that she's doing. That is, the law allows you to do that. But what the law does not allow you to do is to do it badly and get caught. So therefore, you will find a situation in which we now have an international business sector that is under substantial challenge, above and beyond the fact that the global economy is in recession, ladies and gentlemen, above and beyond that. This government was given a year's notice that there were certain things we needed to do in order to put a satisfactory level of information exchange between ourselves and Britain in place. And that year has passed. The Minister of International Business chose to sit down on his duff and do nothing. And now this country stands to be in peril financially because of the situation that we are in. Now I say to you, that brings us right back to the burden that is going to be carried and have to be carried by the middle class of this country. Because if the government's corporation tax receipts from that level of business are down, the government needs, if it is going to preserve our social security net, if it's going to preserve the health care that Jerome Walton toiled for years to build up, if they're going to preserve the education level that we have come to believe in and depend upon, if they're going to preserve the welfare in this country, if they're going to preserve the social transformation programs that the Labour Party built out for them, the government is going to need to raise revenue from somewhere. And therefore you have to unleash the creative talents of the middle class people in Barbados and the working class people in Barbados who have said, look, we are prepared to mortgage our little $100,000 property to start another small business. But to kill the small contractors. So that up at Coverley, for example, I want you to see all these things interlock. How they are destroying this country systematically by bad policy and what they call ignorance. Up at Coverley, you have 1,000 houses, but you don't have a small contractor working. You could have taken 20 contractors of good repute in Barbados and give each one 50 houses. Fellas who have mortgaged their home in order to build a company, going to be sending home people. Cannot pay the mortgage. What happens to them? That is where we've come to in Barbados. Now, I have a couple of minutes and there's one thing I want to say because it is burning me and I'm going to say it. The government has to ease people like you, Brother Dega. They have to ease people like you, Winnie. They have to ease the senior citizens in this country. And the way that they can do it is because you all own your property. But you are being asked to pay more money at the pump every time you drive that car from here to Bridgetown. You've got to pay more money every time you burn your light. And if you're like my father, you choose to have one light on in the house for the night. It is not fair. But if you have a house that is valued at $250,000, introduce the reverse mortgage program, man. Introduce the reverse mortgage program. Ain't gonna cost the government nothing. All the government has to do is to say we are prepared to back the financial institutions that will lend people money against the house that they already own. So that when, I know you, Winnie, I know you would like that, because when then you go along and you decide that your children, and I don't think your children are here in Barbados, so if they want the real estate here in Barbados, fine, they can come back and pay off the little bit of thing that mommy left for it. But if they don't want it, then they sell it. But at least let mommy live comfortably and go to the supermarket and pay the expensive big lot of money that it costs now to go and shop at big B&JBs. Is that not fair? If I ask you, is that not fair? But the Labour Party has now to begin to speak to these people about this thing because the worthlessness is humbugging this country. And it is going to be the death of a society that we worked hard to build up through the years, and the brutality to this economy is already there for all to see. I am calling on you all, therefore, to lend your voices to this cause. This is not now just about winning the government. This is about alerting a nation to the developments that are happening. I could not stand there and say to you the things I said to you if they were not true. The fact that Great Britain has blacklisted us is something that we need to be deeply concerned about. And it is a tragedy that the Prime Minister hasn't spoken. The Foreign Minister hasn't spoken. The International Business Minister, I think, does not know what to say. Right? And Barbados deserves better. And ladies and gentlemen, I close on these words. I wish to salute the efforts that this branch is making, and so many others. And I feel that if we remain steadfast and committed, not just to the short-term issue of regaining government, but to the larger issue of educating and alerting this society. This is something you've got to talk to your neighbors about tomorrow. These are things you've got to talk. You know, I sat down at a meeting last night, you know, listen, there's some things I want to talk with you about. This is why you've got to talk about so that the word will spread. Because let us not believe that we can be trapped and held captive by the media in Barbados if the media has a special agenda. We cannot be untrue to ourselves, even if the media chooses to be untrue to themselves. Our business is governance, and it means that God has governed those who are with you and those who are not with you, and those who are not sure if they want to be with you. But the point is, we cannot shrink from that challenge. And I say to you, therefore, that that is the homework that we have to do. Thank you very much. Not a thing, not by way of an initiative taken by the Prime Minister of Barbados to put cost of living back on the table at the highest level that Kerrie County can be. And I say to you this, if we are satisfied, and I think we must be, that Barbados can't be the only country that has some difficulties with cost of living, then we have also to be satisfied as to whether this government is doing its very best by way of coordinated leadership. Or is it that this government has bought into its own hypocritical propaganda to say that it is an international problem and we can't do nothing about it? But if we have an external tariff wall that allows for taxes as high as 40% or 45% in some instances for products coming into this region, and you have the ability to work with your colleagues to reduce that tax structure on certain pretty key items that people need on a daily basis, the infant formula. You don't produce any grapes in this region, but you want to get vitamin C from the grapes and so on. There's certain vegetables you want to bring in, that you reduce the tariff structure so that you are able to get things into Barbados at a lower rate. That would be part of the systematic approach to governance that Lynette talked about, but which we are failing to see. I do not buy into the view. In fact, I resist it with every fiber of my being. I resist the view that there is nothing that a government can do to deal with this cost of living issue. That is a falsity. The second thing I want to say to you is that we also have to be aware of the context of the time in which we live. As I just said to you, what you see every day happening is something that we cannot control. The fact that a gentleman in Libya who has been a dictator for 40 years said that he would prefer to bathe Libya in blood rather than step down means only one thing for us, that oil prices going up higher and then higher. And every time a ship leaves any port to come to the Caribbean to drop off some things in Barbados, we understand that the oil that that ship is using is going to be at a higher cost, so the shipping cost is higher. And if the shipping cost is higher, somebody got to pay for that. The person who is importing needs to pay Heinz Transport or some other entity to haul the containers to SBI in Spring Garden or wherever else they're going to use as a bond house. Somebody has to pay for that. And you got to pay more because this government very unwisely altered the cost of diesel against all the resistance and the advice of the Barbados Labour Party. And we can come back to that. And the same private freighters who must then move it from the warehouse and carry it by PLG's claims got to pay diesel on that. And if at every stage along the line the input to that transportation is higher and higher, then clearly somebody will have to pay for it. Because none of those people are in business because they feel that the neck must eat cheap. None of those people are in business because they feel we need that euro to eat cheap. Those people are in business to make a profit. And it is a reality we have to face. We had said when we were in government that one of the ways in which we deal with it is to create a basket of goods against which the value-added tax and every other possible imposition are removed. So you have, in the same way you did at a regional level, you did it locally as well. That's why I say to you, it is important for you all, because the Dems will never say that it happened under the Barbados Labour Party. They